Hey, it's your boy, Skinny Degenus, back at it again at Krispy Kreme. Am I doing enough Vine things? Am I connected to the youth yet? Hello, everyone in the 8-bit nation, guys, gals, non-binary pals here. You didn't know I did all the hand gestures when I do that. Really get into it. So you might not recognize my face, but you might recognize my voice from various reviews. It is me, Sam Harkin. This is what my face looks like. And this is what it looks like with foundation. I am just very self-conscious. So it is early January 2019, which means there aren't many games to talk about. Looking forward to that Resident Evil 2. So I figured I'd talk about something a little bit different. I'm not exactly a master of TV. I haven't watched Game of Thrones. But there's a pretty awesome TV show, if I do say so myself, that came out, which is Black Mirror Bandersnatch. Just before I get into things, I will say that I'm going to try and keep this as spoiler-free as possible. If you guys want, like, a spoiler-full deep dive analysis, as much as you can analyze this one, feel free to say so in the comments, or suggest some games. Now, I know there are some people who are watching this who probably haven't seen any of Black Mirror before. So, for those people, I've just got kind of like a bit of a quick primer for you. Oh my god, watch it! Once again, not a master of TV, but Black Mirror, I think, is one of the best shows that is currently around, and you should totally check it out. And it's also kind of important, I think, in kind of, philosophical ways. Each new episode focuses on a new technology that might be around the corner, or might be happening in the future, and kind of in this shared universe. A universe in which a British politician has had sex with a pig, and which a crazy, ridiculous, discoloured caricature ended up gaining political power. Yes, that's right, a purely fictional universe. Hopefully only one more year. It's kind of like the Twilight Zone if you removed all the ridiculous supernatural stuff and just replaced it with existential horror, really. So anyway, let's talk about the latest one, Bandersnatch. So because I forgot to actually include a synopsis in this review for whatever reason, probably because I'm talking about the plot last, which is just rarely what I do, Bandersnatch, it is about a guy called Stefan Butler who wants to create a adaptation of a book into a game, which is very meta because this is also a game and both involve choice-based narrative, and he slowly goes crazy, which I can kind of attest to as a person who does game programming. But, they do lean on this guy is crazy and therefore very artistic kind of thing, which I hate. But otherwise, yeah. Moving on. So Bandersnatch is interesting in that it is an interactive film as opposed to kind of a regular TV episode. And it's really interesting because this is kind of the latest in Netflix trying to make interactive stuff. We've had stuff like Minecraft Story Mode in the mix, and we've had other ones. They're all kids stuff, so I don't know all of them. I kind of know Stretch Armstrong, I'm a fan of it. But this is Netflix's first adult kind of interactive film. So we might as well start with talking about the interactivity. Basically what will happen is someone will be talking, maybe there's a decision to be made, and there will be two options. And there'll be, a little bit of an interlude where, someone's like, oh man, I'm deep in thought deciding which thing to choose. It's nice, right? It rises up, we've kind of got these two options, and they just kind of, slow down and just give people an opportunity to think about it, right? That's just really nice and cool, isn't it? And I very much like this interactivity. The way that they handled it in the show was fantastic. It is very meta, it is very kind of fourth wall breaking. And it's kind of interesting because it does a lot of really awesome stuff playing around with those concepts. At times, you'll make a choice and that will kind of subvert that and kind of lay bare that, this choice is actually just an illusion of choice. And all of these choices that you are making are leading characters down different timelines, and there is a fantastic multitude of ways that the story can go, which is kind of funny because, like, part of the story is like this guy going crazy, like there's too many paths kind of thing, and then, like 2 days later it's just like Black Mirror subreddit, here's a detailed path of how the thing goes. It's like, no, you fool. Even though I will admit they did do it in such a way that they didn't use any of the symbols that are involved in the... I'm trying to keep it spoiler free, but yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And I do find it very interesting because it makes you think a lot about choice-based narrative. It makes you think a lot about like kind of free will and stuff. And it's just kind of one of those experiences where it's just so amazing when you're kind of playing through this and realizing, kind of, what does this all mean kind of stuff. I've got a bad feeling that this is probably sounding a bit vague, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a little bit of a counterpoint. See, I do love really smart intellectual stuff, but I also love really dumb stuff. Enter Final Destination 3. I love Final Destination, even though it's just so dumb sometimes. I bring this up because I think this is the only DVD that I own that has interactive stuff in it. Create your own movie, except, The reason that I bring up Final Destination 3, and kind of paired with that a lot of kind of interactive films that we kind of got when DVDs started being a thing, and is that it's a very good counterpoint. The reason is there aren't a lot of choices, and when there are choices in these previous works, they have inevitably been very minor changes. They have been cases of, like, it splits away into two paths and immediately reconvenes, which makes sense because they've made this full movie. It's not like they're going to be like, we're going to make 3 more movies just to put in the DVD. But the problem with that, and the reason that it's kind of unsatisfying, is that you don't really feel like your choices have a lot of consequence. So, what's the point? But the good news, especially with Final Destination 3, which is all about like fate and free will and stuff, is that even though you don't have these massive branching paths where lots of crazy shit can happen, it does mean, though, that you are telling like a fairly simple, fairly straightforward story. So, in Final Destination, it's like these people survive an accident and then they all die, kind of, eventually. Well, I mean, yes, all people die eventually. But by having like minor, like, kind of changes that still lead to like people dying, and just in like slightly different ways, it still kind of preserves that whole narrative theme of fatalism and everything. The reason that I bring this up is that Black Mirror Bandersnatch, the issue that I definitely have with it is that the story inherently is a bit all over the place. It's kind of fair if you think about it. If you think about other games like Telltale games, such as like The Walking Dead, you will have lots of different choices, but they won't have drastic effects until, maybe at the end of, a season, they'll be like, I remember when you stole a bagel from blah, 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 blah. You have choices, and you have kind of morality, and you have like these conclusions that you will end up leading yourself into. But the thing is, in order to have a good story, there's a lot of elements that they can't change. They have to still have characters dying to raise the stakes. They still have to have, certain aspects of an arc. If you kind of make Walking Dead where, there's a possibility that, you press the red button and destroy all the zombies, then that would take all the drama out of the narrative. So you can't give players that much agency. And essentially what it boils down to, as far as I can tell, is the more agency and the more consequence you heap onto the player's actions, the less of a coherent story you can tell. And that is my problem with Bandersnatch. It is very awesome because then you get to replay it and you get to go in completely different directions. But the problem is, after playing it, I kind of don't really know what exactly I'm supposed to be taking out of this. There is kind of a bit of an obvious way that you can interpret it based on things that happen like 2/3 of the way through or so. Wink. I guess kind of the best way to kind of somehow bring this all together is to summarize everything. And I think the best line I've landed on is that Bandersnatch is a very singular experience in the sense that it is one of a kind, it is very unique, and when you're playing it is an insane experience, and things get revealed and you're like, whoa, what is happening, kind of thing. But it's also singular in the sense that once you've played it once, you can't really get anything more out of it. You can go back and try and get all the endings, which I would fairly recommend. But at the same time, as much as I love, going back and getting those endings, I also have to say straight up that, the more endings you get, the more you're kind of just like, what exactly am I supposed to be understanding from this, And also, just as a final note, if we could just kind of squash the whole people that are crazy are good at art, and if you're not crazy, you're not good at art. Can we just discard that? I know that it's probably supposed to be kind of like a satire, but that's just a really shitty thing that some people think. Romanticizing mental illness. I don't know. I'm not a fan of that. But generally, I think it is a really interesting interactive film that you should experience. But yeah, it doesn't really go much past, the interactivity part of it. Of course, fantastic writing, insane that, people managed to come together to make this entire kind of experience, and the production must have been insane to get this kind of thing done. I'd still like Black Mirror season 5. Yes, 5. Yeah, 5. I'd really like Black Mirror season 5. Here's, of course, to hoping that Netflix continues doing stuff with interactive media. It would be, of course, always interesting to see what other experiences they create for the viewers. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. Please like and subscribe, especially because we have got a lot more content coming for you. That was weird. We've got a lot more content coming in 2019. We are going to be putting out tons of videos from yours truly and from all the people across the 8-Bit Collective. I'm personally very excited for what 2019 is going to be holding for us. So please subscribe so you will be alerted about all that stuff. Also, you could do the bell because, I don't know, YouTube's weird. As always, feel free to check out 8-Bit on Twitter, as well as all the fantastic people in the collective and their podcasts. And also, we've got cool things that are secret that you'll be totally jazzed about when we can actually tell you about them. But yeah, get excited. And yeah, that's definitely all I have to say now. So, Sam Harkin, signing off.